didn't stop Harry, though, did it? No, he recorded everything. Nobody knows how you did it, though, Harry. Caused a hell of a scandal, too.
Why?
Why? No reason. 3 people were murdered, that's all. Harry's a bit too modest to tell us how he did it, though.
It had nothing to do with me. I mean, I just turned in the tapes.
The president thought the accountant had talked.
Yeah. Nobody really knows for sure.
No, that's right. 3 days later, they found the accountant, his wife, and kid. They were all naked, tied up in the house. Hands and feet tied up with rope. All the hair on their bodies shaved off. Their heads were found in different places.
They killed him?
No, they gift wrapped.
They cut it out, Harry.
No. This is ancient history now, Harry. How'd you do it?
What they do with the tapes is their own business.
It's the first time I heard about you, Harry. Next thing I knew, you moved out of New York.
Had nothing to do with me.
Come on, Harry. Show and tell. How'd you do it?
For God's sake, Harry, tell us.
Turn it off, Stan.
Stan, turn it off. Well, they ought to hit us, Harry. It's the best thing you've ever done.
What was that, Stan?
Francis is a marvelous director in that he's very precise and knows exactly what he wants. We worked together very closely on precise details. We tried not to take things for granted with the character because he was such an eccentric character. And I finally got to the place where I trusted Francis a great deal. I guess having to reshoot that thing shook me up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to tell you on that level.
No, I understand. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I understand.
It was the kind of thing where it wasn't even that it doesn't work. It's just that some of the stuff that we've gotten is so terrific. I was sitting there hearing them talk about this masterpiece.
There was a particularly hard moment in the warehouse sequence where I had to do a whole violent kind of change from being very upset to being very kind of manic.
Yeah, can we have that over here? Yes. What happens over there is specifically that the story of the murder fuses with this couple. He's staring right at them. Yeah. See, then the repetition's going to work for us. The audience has seen them, and they know what's going on in your mind. Now get this.
Yeah.
And so they'll understand. There's nothing to do with me. I'm an engineer. I'm the best engineer there is. You know, so
do that?
Yeah.
Be looking at them while they're starting that dialogue.
Good, I think. Because that's what it's a story. It's about a man who's haunted by something. He can't shake it. But I am the best wiretapper. I'm the best engineer. This guy is a
That's
creep.
what I got to stay with. I got to stay with what I know.
That's all you have.
Yeah.
That guy's a creep.
Yeah.
A few years ago, living in San Francisco, I was surrounded with a lot of young filmmakers who said, you want to make a film about a wife who leaves her husband, and we want to make films about, race relations and police treatment and stuff, and I was very defensive because I didn't want to make films about those things. But as I thought about it, I realized that all the big events that take place politically must, since human beings bring them about, they must be determined by emotional things. And so that if I could center in on that, my films could still be very political. There are some people who think a political film is one that deals frontally with the issues of the day and that states right out very clearly its side. And I felt that kind of film, whereas it can be done, only invites the people to come see it who already agree with it and causes everyone else to say, oh, that's a bad film, or I'm not going to go see it. I think a truly effective film is a film that does not announce its intention in that way.
I feel very responsible that when I make a little original film, say like The Conversation, that I'm indulging my desire to become a better filmmaker and to experiment with other people's money. I would much rather just finance it myself and take those risks on myself.
I have been working up to this time to finish many things that I had begun before, but now I'm 35 and I'm in a position to reposition what I'm going to do, and I'm mainly interested in writing, dramatic writing. I bought a theater in the city where I live.
Where is that?
It's in San Francisco, and it's small, 300 seats, very intimate, very nice, and my hope is to be able to, I really hope to be and consider myself mainly a writer. Now, in a sense, in the movie business, it's like being a car designer, except they're always building the car before I get finished with it. So I would like the opportunity to do some writing and try this out and develop it with a group of actors for an audience without millions of dollars being spent so that it has to be a success. I think when original writing immediately has the test put to it, very often you are forced to change it to save the investment, and you are not as free to follow inclinations that you normally would. And for once, I would like to write a project without it immediately having a date and a budget and the responsibility of making it work. It's the responsibility and pressure of constantly having millions of dollars resting on your neck and theoretically on decisions that you should make in relaxation and with a sense of whimsy and fun, constantly having such world-shaking problems, you know, is gotten to me. And what I really mean is I'm not going to work for money anymore, which means to choose things because I can or cannot make money.
Francis Ford Coppola and The Conversation. And now Spies, a farce about the CIA with Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland as a pair of ham-fisted agents in Paris who are always on the wrong end of every bit of double-dealing and double-crossing, whether it be perpetrated by their own outfit or the Chinese or the KGB. The jokes include a bunch of comic anarchists. Anarchy seems to be quite fashionable this week, led by the delectable Zuzu, an accidental murder in the men's lavatory on a cross-channel ferry, and an exploding pissoir in a Parisian street. But the humour wears very thin very quickly, and as a satire, if such it was meant to be, it's about as subtle as writing knickers on a wall. Before we have a word with Messrs. Gould and Sutherland, let's see the sequence where they first meet.
We have for us, one of the best working relationships I know of. It's I enjoy working with Elliot more than I enjoy working with myself.
I mean, in fact, they've been eager to do it ever since MASH.
We work as a team, so I know that I represent everybody I am, and there's more than two of me, you know. So I mean, a team and a double is we're great as a team. A double act, well, I don't juggle too well.
What was original and functional about that for us was our relationship. The only viable entity. We weren't trying to repeat it in any way. I mean, I must say sometimes the publicity indicates that. The original title of the film, for example, was Wet Stuff. The title now is Spies with the thing, so people are obviously capitalizing on MASH, which is fine. But our interest in doing the film was the interest in working together.
But then we were offered a lot of things that neither of us felt was right for the two of us at the time. We were offered that thing that Ryan O'Neal and William Holden did. Yeah, then we were offered that thing that Betty Grable and Betty Hutton did. Then we were offered that thing that Margaret Rutherford and Sylvia Smith did. We decided that, well, his name in the picture is Seymour, my name's Ernest, so they finally found us out, so we had to do that picture. now since we know our common ground, which to me is the most important thing for us all, that which is common, we intend to, every other year at least, do a film together.
You weren't offered The Great Gatsby?
Well, I didn't want to play Mia Farrow,
And I wouldn't, so there was a basic argument there.
I don't think Jack Layton is too pleased about that either.
Well, I think he'd probably like to make it again with you.
Yeah, I think at least there'd be some laughs in it.
There's no answer to that. Finally, and to prove that the British film industry is still alive and well and living in Boreham Wood, a preview of what will certainly be the most star-studded film of the year, Sidney Lumet's screen version of Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. Albert Finney plays the famous detective Hercule Poirot, and supporting roles are taken by the likes of Ingrid Bergman, Anthony Perkins, Vanessa Redgrave, Lauren Bacall, and Sir John Gielgud, to name but a few, which is what people say when they've momentarily forgotten the others. The film is made by EMI, whose chief executive, Nat Cohen, told us about the problems of setting it all up.
A nightmare.
How long?
Well, it took me, from the moment I thought of the idea, it must have taken me a year. But the nightmarish part of it is trying to get this jigsaw together. Normally, when you go into production with a film, you have a choice of 1, 2, or 3 artists for each part. You invariably finish up with the third choice. But somehow, with this film, the whole thing slotted in together. Every first choice said yes, a miracle. Because normally either they want to do it, or alternatively they're booked for another film, or anything of that description. Everything went together. I can say we've sold it in approximately 90% of the countries to date. We will probably have a 100% sellout. But when I say sell, we never sell. We get a certain amount of money on account of allowing them to show the film in their countries. So we maintain the property forever. I would go so far as to say the value of the contracts taken will be more than the cost of the film. A lot more, I'm pleased to say.
The interesting aspect of Murder on the Orient Express, from the point of view of the money to be made from films even today, is that although it's still in production, Nat Cohen and EMI have already negotiated nearly £2 million worth of overseas sales. And if all these agreements are honoured, the picture will have made a profit before it's even shown. Lucky Mr. Cohen. Oh, this one star I did forget to mention, the biggest of the lot, the Orient Express itself. Good night. Good evening. And that's how motion pictures were born. Well, in a way. Those pictures were taken by Edward Muybridge, the 19th century British photographer who discovered a way of analysing motion by using 24 cameras and a series of tripwires, and later invented a projector to give his pictures the illusion of actual movement. Muybridge's experiments can be seen in the Museum of Cinematography in St Ives, and we'll be having a look at that later on. But now, after that brief excursion into history, let's get back to the business at hand, namely a quick roundup of some of the available holiday entertainment. And if I start with the latest Carry On film, it's only because the Carry On films are now part of holiday tradition and the tourist scene, along with the Changing of the Guard, the Beefeaters, Westminster Abbey, the Soho strip clubs and Buckingham Palace. Carry On Dick is the 26th in the series, and it has Sid James playing the double role of Dick Turpin and the Reverend Flasher. When I tell you that Dick Turpin is known as Big Dick because of the unusual size of his weapon, you'll know at once that the Carry On series is carrying on in its refined and subtle way, every double meaning heralded by a roguish nudge that's likely to break your ribs. The plot's rather more complicated than usual, since it revolves around Sid's double life and the activities of Bernard Bresslaw and Kenneth Williams as a pair of Bow Street runners. But lest you fear that the Carry On team is moving into the realm of serious cinema, let me assure you that that other famous pair, Barbara Windsor, is well to the fore, that Bernard Bresslaw plays a character called Roger Daly, and you can work that out at your leisure, and that you haven't even begun to think of the variety of meanings that can be read into a simple sentence like stand and deliver. Well, you know what the Carry On films are like. Either you laugh at them or you don't, and I have to confess that I do. Anyway, here's most of the team in a typical situation at the local inn. So much for delicate irony and gentle wit. Now for some really broad comedy. Percy's Progress comes on with all the soft subtlety of a boot in the groin. No innuendo here because everything is spelt out in block capitals and heavily underlined. Perhaps you saw the original Percy film, which was about a penis transplant, and Hewell Bennett played the grateful recipient of this valuable gift. Well, in the sequel, Mr. Bennett appears to have been transplanted elsewhere, because the appendage in question now belongs to Lee Lawson, who, through a variety of circumstances, is the only potent male left in the world, and is therefore called upon to inseminate the most desirable women of all the nations. Well, that's fair enough. It's a fantasy that must be familiar to every feverish adolescent there's ever been. And indeed, Percy's Progress could have been a good bawdy film, had it been made with gusto and a modicum of wit. But instead it slobbers and leers and licks its lips, and a very distinguished cast, which includes Denham Elliott, Ronald Fraser, Vincent Price, Bernard Lee, Milo O'Shea, Judy Geeson and Elkie Sommer, shuffles apologetically through the action like a president throwing himself upon the mercy of Congress. The only one who emerges with much credit is Harry H. Corbett as a Prime Minister who bears more than a passing resemblance to a well-known politician who may be found not a million miles from Lord Northstreet. And here he is with Denham Elliott, preparing Percy for his first assignment at Stud.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's absolutely no substitute for superlative craftsmanship.
Ooh, no substitute at all.
Here we are, Ducky. Just slip into this.
Ugh. Do I have to wear this?
What difference does it make? You'll be having it off in a minute. Oh, what have I said?
Well, Doctor. Oh, no, fine. Pulse is a little faster than normal, but then wouldn't yours be?
Don't worry. There's a fully equipped medical team standing by, and countless volunteers for mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Get everyone out of here, Catchball.
Oh, you beast!
Well, no need to tell you how important this is. England expects. The eyes and the ears of the world will be upon us. Or upon you, of course.
Not being televised, is it?
No, of course not. Well, not public-wise. I mean, I have to have film for my diary, for the records. History, lad!
Terrified now. You know, doing it for mankind. It's a heavy thought.
Oh, it's just pre-match tension, old son. I mean, butterflies in the stomach.
The butterflies are a bit lower down in my case.
For God's sake, Percy, lad, Percy. You're doing it for England. And the finest eugenically selected specimen of the world's womanhood, not one with an IQ less than 150, is coming in here, and you're going to give him one for England. Think of it like that, lad. The gold medalist for sexual bloody intercourse.
I'll try, Prime Minister. I'll try to rise to the occasion.
And now a touch of adventure. Caravan to Vacaris, which is based on a recent bestseller by that prolific writer of bestsellers, Alistair MacLean. And very preposterous stuff it is, too. Charlotte Rampling and David Burney, a young actor new to me, are mixed up with, among other things, a gypsy festival at Vacaris in the south of France, and a plot to kidnap a Hungarian scientist who's invented a cheap fuel that will replace oil. And I do wish somebody would hurry up and do that. However, there's lots of blood and thunder, to say nothing of thud and blunder, murder, mayhem, a helicopter chase, and a positively daft climax in a bull ring. Acting is provided by Michael Bryant as the scientist, and Michelle Lonsdale as the scientist's benefactor, while Charlotte Rampling looks as ever like the kind of girl any red-blooded male would happily rample with. And Mr. Burney exhibits the enviable gift of facing every situation, from a bash on the head to a bedroom romp with La Rampling, with exactly the same look of quizzical amusement. Here, though, is where Mr. Burney attempts to double-cross the villains, who are expecting him to swap the scientist for Charlotte Rampling.
Now listen to me. When they get here, get out of the car,
and you will walk very slowly towards them. The girl will be coming slowly towards us. Once you've passed, you'll be surrounded by 4 men. And it's all right. Ferenc won't shoot. Not in this crowd.
Where are the men?
There are 3 by the fountain. The others are at the exits of the square. Okay. Okay. Walk. Damn it, Zuga. Move. Go on, it'll be all right.
Monsieur, de l'argent. Yougoslavie. Yougoslavie, monnaie. Monnaie, please. De l'argent, s'il vous plaît.
One member of the cinema audience who's often overlooked is the romantic teenager, if indeed such an animal exists in these permissive times. Well, now the Disney studios have come up with Super Dad, which I suppose is aimed at romantic teenagers. Inevitably, it's about the generation gap. Dad, played by Bob Crane, doesn't understand his daughter, hates her friends, and especially her childhood sweetheart, and tricks her into believing she's won a scholarship to a posh university, where she'll meet well-to-do, well-connected, upright, earnest, dull young men, rather like he used to be. As an example of the misunderstandings we're involved with, take the sequence in which the daughter has a party, and Dad, lying in bed, hears the music stop and naturally fears the worst.
What?
Nothing.
That's good. Charlie, what are you doing?
They think I'm asleep. Get in my liquor cabinet.
You're not going down there.
Guess I am going down there.
But you promised Wendy.
Well, I'll just go down and get a glass of water.
You can get a glass of water up here.
I like the downstairs water better than the upstairs water.
Charlie!
Dancing without music and lights? Maybe your mother will put up with this sort of thing, but I won't.
Of course, the teenagers in the film are the idealized, sentimentalized kind that were invented by the American cinema and that I doubt ever really existed anywhere. And naturally, they sought Dad out in the end with great tolerance and kindness. It's not a bad little picture, although Mr. Crane underplays to such an extent that he seems almost to be taking it seriously. Still, my resident critics, aged 11 and 10, enjoyed it immensely, especially the slapstick. And here's an example of that. Dad's gone to the university to see his daughter, isn't allowed into her dormitory, and tries to sneak in by the back way. Unfortunately, he's picked the wrong room.
Wendy.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No!
It occurs to me that some of you may be off to Cornwall for your holidays, and since it's bound to be raining, and most of the local cinemas have been turned into bingo halls, you may be casting around for some alternative entertainment when the pleasure of beating up the children begins to pall. So why not call in at the Barnes Museum of Cinematography at St Ives? It's run by two brothers, John and William Barnes, who founded it in 1963. And incredibly, it's the only museum of cinematography in the entire Commonwealth. It contains everything from the Muybridge pictures we saw earlier to animated postcards, magic lantern shows, What the Butler Saw machines, and very early cameras and projectors. The admission price is a modest 10 pence for adults and 5 pence for children. And Film 74 went down there to see what you got for your money.
The Guardian, 1964. People who want to see evidence of film history for themselves have to travel to St Ives.
Imagine the early Victorians sort of enjoying an evening watching a thing like that.
Where the saying comes from, it's all done by mirrors again.
Well, at St Ives has always been a centre for the arts, painting, sculpture, pottery, and I think the film ought to be represented since it's one of the most important arts today.
The Observer, 1963. St Ives, already prominent on the cultural map for the St Ives School of Art, may now become the mecca of cinematographers. The Financial Times, 1968. What makes the Barnes Museum of Cinematography at St Ives one of the most important collections of its kind in the world is not so much the wealth of its material as the gift of its creators, John and William Barnes, to collect and associate material often seemingly disparate. They have revealed the extent to which museum making can be a creative art.
Well, we start with the precursors of the cinema, really starting with the shadow play, which was the first form of two-dimensional moving picture on a screen to tell a story.
Today, grand entertainment with the world-renowned Magic Lantern Cosmos.
War and peace. Strife is sad, what tears is for. Oh, why should men delight in war? Comfort, science, arts increase in countries where men live in peace. We get the effect of moving pictures from a series of still pictures, but the pictures themselves don't move. It's just the phenomenon of persistence of vision that gives us the illusion of movement.
Daguerreotype Saloon. The subscriber, having located his saloon in this village for a short time, would take this opportunity to inform the inhabitants of this village and the vicinity that he is now prepared to take original daguerreotypes. Jean Mace, champion prize fighter, photographed 1845.
Perhaps I'd better explain that very last bit wasn't actually a stray clip from Percy's Progress. Anyway, that was the Barnes Museum of Cinematography at St Ives. Well, holidaymakers come in assorted shapes and sizes and include not only Carry-On fans and Alistair MacLean readers, but also people who like a little more meat to their movies. And for this latter group, I would recommend Pirosmani, the Russian picture now at the Paris Pullman, which is perhaps the most beautiful film I've seen this year. It purports to be a biography of the 19th century Georgian painter Nicola Pirosmani. I say it purports to be a biography because it's really in the nature of a thumbnail sketch, far more of a tribute to the artist than the story of his life. Pirosmani was a self-taught painter, a primitive, an alcoholic, and virtually unknown beyond Tiflis until 12 years after his death in 1918. He was an occasional sign writer, but for the most part earned his keep and his drink by painting pictures for the local tavern keepers. He never married, lived in a cupboard beneath some outside stairs, and the only recognition he ever received during his lifetime was ridicule and vilification in the local press. Well, now the Georgian director, Georgi Shingalaya, has handsomely made up for that. The colour, composition and gently melancholic mood of his film is so faithful to the artist's style that for most of the time Pirosmani seems to be strolling through his own canvases. Visually, it's a remarkable piece of work, and for this a great deal of the credit must go to Avtan Dilvaratsi, who not only designed the film, but also played the title role himself. It's not at all a bad performance either, nicely conveying a feeling of simplicity, resignation, and a kind of baffled resentment.
Нарисовать ничего не надо. Хорошо, что зашел, Николай. Нарисуй мне что-нибудь. Я на эту облупленную стенку повешу. Значит, так.
Да, так.
А здесь хочешь бурдюк?
Да, бурдюк.
Арбу оставить?
Да, оставь. Куда эту бочку? Бочку? Вон туда. Я же говорил, что быки были красные.
Значит, тебе нужны красные быки. Знаешь, что я тебе скажу? Ты в этом деле ничего не понимаешь. Иди за свой прилавок и торгуй себе.
Pirosmani paying in his usual way for breakfast at Tiflis. And so there we are, just a few of the entertainments on offer this holiday season. But to finish with, let's have a preview of a film that will be coming along shortly, Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. This too is based on a best-selling book, and it's an allegory about a seagull with ideas above his station. It's also very beautiful to look at. So with music by Neil Diamond, here is J.L. Seagull and Friends in action. I'll be back next week. Good night.
Nothing like this has come into Rome since Romulus and Remus.
Before Cleopatra, I was, as to a well-known actor, as the result of the enormous power of Elizabeth. I became, I don't know what the word is, notorious, I think. Certainly, she had, and she has, an enormous influence on my life. I don't know. You're an actor, you're an actor, you're an actor, you know.
11 years after Cleopatra, Richard Burton is filming again in Italy, this time in Milan, indeed in the very hotel room in which Giuseppe Verdi died in 1901. There was a time when Burton was looked upon as potentially the finest classical actor of his generation. There's a story that Laurence Olivier once said to him, Make up your mind, a household name or a great actor? Of course, it's possible to be both. Olivier himself is, and maybe Burton could have been too. At 26, he was superb as Prince Hal at Stratford-on-Avon. At 28, he played Hamlet at the Old Vic. Burton was on his way, certainly to excellence, possibly even to greatness. But then came the movies, and in particular Cleopatra. Burton made his choice. Today he's not the finest classical actor of his generation. But on the other hand, he is perhaps the most famous male film star in the world. Whether the choice he made was the right one or not is something that only he can know, no matter what anyone else may think. These days he works exclusively in films, and earlier this year he was co-starring with Sophia Loren in a version of Pirandello's story The Voyage, directed by Vittorio De Sica.
Sereno dove sta? Attenzione. Quando vuole verificare? Silenzio. Motore. Partito.
207 quarti.
Vai.
Good morning. Sleep well?
Yes,
It was in Milan that I asked him why he'd chosen to make this particular film.
It was a combination of intangibles, I suppose. We all know that De Sica is one of the great directors of our time. Sophia Loren is a marvelous actress, and Pirandello was one of the great writers of our time. And I thought, well, maybe a mess, but the combination of such circumstances is effective. So I said, yes, I'll do it. And then De Sica, as you know, had lung removed or something like that, so I had to wait around for a long time. But I loved the man so much that I was prepared to wait around.
How do you get on with him as a director? Because he seems to give you a lot more direction than directors have given you for many years now.
Oh, yes. Were it not for his particular personality, I think that I would have hit him right in the mouth. You know? But he's a great actor, and what he tells me to do, I do. And I don't know quite how to describe him. Well, you've seen him for a couple of days, right? When I speak Italian, and he doesn't speak English, not very well anyway. And when he says, Riccardo, guardo via. You go. I speak English very, very bad, no. Oh, no, very good, very good. I go, I sit, I look, I see. Come si chiama? Impossibility. Impossibilities, yes. I see impossibilities. Ah, very good. I sit. I sit down. I look. I smile. And never must you use your voice, Richard. No, never use your voice, because your voice is funny. You go, for you see. I said, we are fine, okay, all right, well, we'll do that.
You follow all those directions meticulously.
Oh, yes, well, what the hell else is there to do?
Richard is the only in the world now, the only actor who has un primo attore.
He's a leading man.
A leading man, the only. And I need this character of Cesare, the name of the character is Cesare, is very strong, very strong. No weak, no a man weak, but a man very strong. And Richard Burton is a very strong, a good actor and a strong actor.
I don't think that's, of course, true. He's just charming, I think. He really is a divine man. He said once that Well, I'll speak in English. He said in Italian, he said, you are the greatest actor. The others are, they're all cheap, you know, and they're all outside. You're inside, huh?
Well, that's a nice compliment.
Oh, sure it is, yeah, it's very sweet, but not true at all. So I said, would he like to call up Laurence Olivier and tell him that, you know, or Marlon Brando. And he's a divine man. Of course, he has lived his entire life, I should think, on charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he bewitches everybody. He really is a lovely man. One of the most extraordinary things is that when you don't have royalty, as they don't have in this country or in France or in Germany, they still obey titles. He's a commendatore, I'm a commendatore. And they have a kind of thing they call it.
Guardi qua, signora, venga qua così vede come fa lei.
Watch him now. Watch him. Absolutely fascinating.
Yes, he is. What is a commendator? It's the equivalent of a knight.
Yeah.
Very briefly, The Voyage is a love story about the relationship between a Sicilian woman, played by Miss Lorraine, and her dead husband's brother, Cesare, played, of course, by Burton. It's complicated by the fact that she has one of those rare heart diseases that are known only to dramatists and movie makers, and that ultimately prove fatal, but in the meanwhile must be treated by a great deal of travel and having a good time. The film has been shot almost entirely on location, not only in Sicily, but also in Florence, Venice, Ravenna, and Milan. Cesare is visiting Milan on a business and pleasure trip, the pleasure being provided by his mistress, Annabella Incontrera. The scenes being shot there were brief and uncomplicated. Nevertheless, De Sica directs it all with vast enthusiasm, attending to every detail of set and performance, and behind the cameras acting out every role himself.
Pronti?
Questo non c'è un pezzo, guarda questo.
Were you cutting?
Yeah.
No.
Toccante.
Scusate.
Un pochino di fuori lasciali perché ce l'aveva io.
Sì, poco.
Pronti? Sì. No. Devi guardare poi tu o devi riguardare la cartolina?
197 terza.
Azione!
Thank you.
Good evening. Va bene? Va bene? Sì, le cartello provino? No,
Penso che non è proprio uno che fa un saluto così a uno qualunque, non è uno che con ammirazione e...
beh, dici che non gli piace puzzare.
De Sica takes a great deal of notice of Luisa Alessandri, who's been his assistant for 30 years, ever since his first film.
Scusa, Riccardo, questa va bene, questa ultima. E anche quella a cavallo, una sola, falla così, scusa. Questo qui, tu sorridi cosa? Sai quel piccolo, un piccolo movimento di rispetto verso l'artista sommo. Attenzione, silenzio! Silenzio! Motore! Partito!
197 quarto.
Azione! Bene, buona per te? Perfetto. Va bene? A questo. Check the gate.
Questa più le due
Check
di
the
prima,
gate.
Solo...
La quarta.
Check the gate. Giulio. Check
the gate. Very good. It's a miraculous kind of idiotic nonsense about the English language, which of course we both speak. But I can also do it for you in Italian if you like.
Yes, I know you can. But were you always prompted by the desire to have an audience? I mean, preaching and acting have that in common, that you've got an audience.
Ah, yeah. Well, somebody once said about somebody, I've forgotten who, like D.H. Lawrence or somebody, he said when he was alone in a room, he was not there.
Mm.
Whereas when I'm in a room, alone in a room, I'm there. Because I can talk to myself, right? Fascinating business, fascinating business. I'm afraid I'm an actor. I don't want to be an actor. But however I am. And I don't know, you know, you ask anybody why they do something, why they do this, why they do that, whatever it is, and they don't know no more than I know.
But do you not feel that you are wasting your talent, or don't you believe in your talent to the extent that a lot of other people do?
No, I think I have an enormous amount of talent, but I deliberately waste it.
Now, you can tell us. Did Mr. Rogers, who put you behind his counter, find that you was not sharp enough for the city ways?
I ran away.
From Liverpool?
Ma'am, you got no idea what they are like, those big places. In Liverpool, they got houses with 7 windows, one on top of the other.
7? Trag with all the Banwell. I would be afraid for them to fall on top of me when I wasn't looking.
And fog all day long and nothing green, ma'am. Not a flower. Only in women's hats and them false. And all the people strangers to each other.
No. Oh, if I was not to know who everybody was, I would have to go up and ask them.
Well, ma'am, in Liverpool, you'd be tired by the end of the day, I can tell you. But what finished me was the trams.
Trams? Dear me, what's trams?
The latest thing. Up and down they go, making terrible noise and stopping in the street and then starting and more terrible noise and...
Women, are they? Oh, no, surely not.
Well, I see the trams and the houses and all the flowers false and the people pushing and... Well, here I am, home in Dolwyn.
Well... Can I go to Liverpool in his place? No, Daffy, you will get into bad ways.
Oh, ma'am.
Say grace, Daffy.
Oh.
Dad and Daly dead with down. And Daly dead with down.
Yes, well, has Burton wasted his talent? Throughout a long and varied film career, it's only shown itself sporadically on the screen. The Last Days of Dolwyn was his first picture, and for a long time it remained his best. So how strong was his talent in the first place? These newspaper reviews of the 1950s indicate that the critics had very little doubt about the ability of the young Burton, the budding classical actor. But around the same time, he had 2 spells in Hollywood. The first did him no harm. He starred in My Cousin Rachel, The Robe, and Desert Rats.
Captain. Who is it? Oh, you, sir.
How's your hand, Terry?
Oh, burning like brimstone. But how are you, sir?
I found a very deep hole. If you can dig deep enough, only your pride gets hurt.
Look, Mr. Bartlett, let me get you a
No,
transfer.
no. Don't say it again. I'm afraid I might take you up on it. I wanted to talk to you about something else.
Oh?
Harry Carstairs. There's a rumor among the men that he's to be court-martialed.
It's no rumor. I forwarded the papers tonight.
But why, Tammy? It was a perfectly natural and courageous thing to do.
Certainly it was. And just as certainly that has nothing to do with it. He disobeyed orders and jeopardized the whole position.
But he's just a boy.
We've no use for boys here. Particularly not as officers.
You can't be much older than he is.
Don't know whether I am or not. I do know that I've been here a year. And one of the first things I learned was that this isn't a game for children. Men get killed and stay killed.
I know that.
I don't think you do, sir. Only a line officer knows that any decision he makes in battle may involve somebody being killed or wounded. His job is to follow orders and make decisions without letting sentiment, loyalty, friendship, or anything else interfere. When he can't do that, he might as well get rid of whatever he's got up here. But he's no good to himself or anybody else anymore.
But later, after he'd played Hamlet and Coriolanus at the Old Vic, he returned to Hollywood with fairly disastrous results. Prince of Players was a flop, and so too was The Rains of Ranchipur,
a remake of The Rains Came that co-starred an improbable Indian Burton with an even more improbable Lana Turner.
What does a girl do when she wants a young man's attention?
Well, if she were a young lady, she would simply pine away.
Well, in my country, it's just the opposite. The young lady does all the courting. When she wanted the young man to speak to her, she would drop her handkerchief. Now that's considered terribly old-fashioned. It was never very effective anyway.
Does she do now?
Well, it depends on the young lady. The shy ones drop their eyes. The others just look at what they want. Of course, we still have a few who are like your Indian girls. They simply pine away.
I do not believe you have done much pining for what you want.
You think I just look?
I think you are very beautiful.
And?
Isn't that enough? Beauty provoketh thieves sooner than gold. That's not very original either. A poet named Shakespeare said it first, a Mr. W. Shakespeare.
Still, in 1958, the critics were talking again about his talent and his potential greatness when he played Jimmy Porter in the screen version of John Osborne's play, Look Back in Anger.
Going out?
That's right.
On a Sunday evening in this town? Where on earth have you got to go?
She's coming with me to church.
You're doing what? When I think of what I did, what I had to endure.
Oh, yes, we all know what you did for me. You rescued me from the clutches of my family and all my friends.
From the clutches of Mummy, at least. You know, Mummy and I took one quick look at each other, and from then on, the age of chivalry was dead.
Don't let's brawl, boy. You won't do any good.
Why not? It's the only thing left I'm any good at. Jimmy, boy. There is nothing, no limit to what the middle-class mother will do in the holy crusade against ruffians like me. She's probably in that system by now, taking down every word we say. I hear me, mother! Just about fit her in there. You're an old bitch! And you ought to be dead!
Shut up! You've no right to talk about her mother like that!
I've every right. Haven't I? She is an old bitch and she should be dead. Well, what's the matter with you? Why don't you spring to her defense? If someone said that about me, she'd react soon enough. She'd spring into a well-known lethargy and say nothing. Well, now, and what's the matter with you?
I just feel quite sick, that's all. Sick with contempt and loathing. We'd better go. I'll get my things.
But this and his considerable success on Broadway in Camelot were what he calls BC, before Cleopatra and his meeting with Elizabeth Taylor.
Whenever you like, you said in Rome. Come to Alexandria whenever you like. Now, tonight, I said. I would like to come tonight, to bow to the throne upon which Caesar put you, to talk of a new treaty. Caesar's can't be improved, copy it. Of Caesar's son, of the dream you shared with Caesar that still fills your life. Alexander's design for a world to be ruled by you and Caesar. Where is Antony? Where is Mark Antony? Antony the Great, the divine Antony! Here. He's here. One step behind Caesar, at the right hand of Caesar, in the shadow of Caesar. Tell me how many have loved you since him? 1, 10, anyone? No one? Have they kissed you with Caesar's lips, touched you with his hands? Has it been his name you cried out in the dark? And afterwards alone, has he reproached you and have you begged forgiveness of his memory?
You come here then running over with wine and self-pity to conquer Caesar.
So long now, you have filled my life. Like a great noise that I hear everywhere in my heart. I want to be free of you, of wanting you, of being afraid.
That Caesar would not permit it.
After Cleopatra, the changes in his life soon became apparent. For a start, his salary doubled overnight to $500,000 a picture, and he became rich. But more than that, Elizabeth Taylor, like it or not, has always lived much of her life in public, and so, like it or not, have all her consorts, of whom Richard Burton is the fifth. Over the past 10 years, Burton has probably become as famous for his flamboyant purchases of yachts and aeroplanes and fur coats and fabulous diamonds as for his acting. The Burton-Taylor marriage, as far as one can ever tell with such a volatile couple, is now over, but it was certainly exciting while it lasted. Quarrels, reconciliations and the frequent exchange of lavish presents. And always, on Burton, there was the dominating influence of his wife.
Richard, looking back on your career, it seems to be divided in two, almost exactly by Cleopatra. Would you agree with that it changed course completely after Cleopatra?
Well, I don't know. I think my life was changed by a woman, you know, who's called Elizabeth Taylor. I'm not entirely sure what exactly she did to me. But certainly, I don't know exactly what to say, but those people, you know, like Laurence Olivier and Paul Scofield and Marlon Brando and Elizabeth Taylor and people like that, they're very rare, very strange, very odd, very perverse. And they obviously believe that they are very extraordinary people in their odd way, and they believe firmly, of course, that they are gifted by God or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't believe that, you see. I mean, about myself. There's unquestionably a kind of passion, a strange idiocy, where you walk on the stage or you walk on the screen or whatever it is, and you feel a strange kind of power. I defy the power, of course.
What would you say it is that you do when you're up there in front of the camera?
No, I think I'm a sort of animal. I get on there and I don't throw out the words, and I have a reasonable voice and so on, and I just get out there and become an animal in some strange way, in the same way that the other people become animals, except that they believe that they are fundamentally powerful and beautiful and so on. I don't believe that at all. Certainly I'm not powerful, certainly I'm not beautiful, but I don't understand what these fellows do, except that I appreciate what they do, if you know what I mean. Acting is a very strange thing. If you are absolutely, what is the word, positively aligned with the idea of acting, it is, of course, a kind of truth, you know, because if you act perfectly, goodly, wellly, it is a kind of honesty which writers don't have. Just been reading today about D.H. Lawrence. What a piece of rubbish he was, right? He didn't know what he was writing, he didn't know what he was saying, but when the actor goes on the stage or on the screen and he speaks words written by other people, he doesn't quite know what he's saying, but he knows what he's saying is a lie. And therefore, that particular kind of lying becomes a kind of truth. I'm talking, of course, absolute rubbish.
But then what keeps you going in the same profession?
Money.
But you don't need the money now, surely.
You've got to be joking. I've got about 50,000 people to take care of. I have to pay everybody off. I have to pay lawyers, legends. I have to keep this dog. You know. At the moment, I'm doing all right. I pick up a lot of money for films, and I don't know. I don't know, and it's absolute nonsense. The whole idea of the film business is nonsense. On the stage, of course, I'm absolutely sure, I'm certain I can go anywhere and play anything. But I don't really know what prompts the imagination of the public. Sure. It's a funny Chinese dog, the only Chinese dog who speaks Welsh. No, I really think it's very odd and very perverse. Laurence Olivier once said that were it not for the fact that he were an actor, he would have gone mad. And I'm beginning to think that I would have gone mad too. But I don't put myself in the same, of course, category as Laurence Olivier, because he really loves the theatre. He's obsessed by it and so on. I'm not.
On what basis now do you choose the roles you're going to play in movies? Because sometimes you seem to make very curious choices. Films like Bluebeard, for instance, and Hammersmith is Out. One wonders why you chose to do those films.
Yeah, I long to be a failure.
And?
And I am a failure.
Well, yes, but a very successful failure.
No, I managed. I get along. I'm afraid that in about 5 or 6 months, I'm going to go back on the stage. It terrifies me, it appalls me, but I'll go back on the stage.
Why? I mean, is it sheer masochism?
Perhaps. Never thought of that.
This picture, I made all real ambience, real in Palermo, in Sicilia, Naples, Venice, and Milan. I need absolutely a window.
Looking out onto the city?
A window. This window. I look a little moment, rapidamente, very fast, very quickly, a view of the town. I was in Palermo, I saw the Cathedral of Palermo, always through a window. Naples, Mastangioino, another monument of Naples, through a window. Venice, the little isle, the Isola di San Giorgio, through a window. And now, a very simple street of Milan, through a window.
Richard Burton was actually born Richard Jenkins in South Wales in 1925, the son of a miner and the 12th of 13 children. It's a little sad that his own voyage from that kind of poverty to his present fame and affluence should, nearly 50 years later, have left him apparently so disillusioned.
Pronti? Attenzione, il gol. Motore!
209 seconda.
Azione!
La storia a botte di disastri.
Disaster. God, my God.
Cesare, what's the matter?
Disaster.
But surely some of his work, some of his achievements must have pleased him.
I think intellectually, I'm pleased with Look Back in Anger, Beckett. I don't know, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Spy Came In From the Cold?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good. I've never seen it.
wait here.
Why did Mund let me go? I'm a risk to him now.
As you said, it was a bargain. No you, no me.
What was my part in all this? I want to know.
You were a pawn in the plot. London knew it was no good just killing Fiedler. If he'd been killed, people would have started asking by whom, why. Maybe told friends he suspected Mund. Maybe he'd left notes, incriminating notes. London had to eliminate suspicion. Public rehabilitation, that's what they organized for Mund. I was sent to discredit him. He was sent to discredit me.
And love?
We made it very easy for them. They used us. They cheated us both because it was necessary. Fiedler was nearly home already. If it hadn't been for us, Mund would have been killed. They were bloody clever. All the way down the line, they were bloody clever.
Clever, they were foul. How can you turn the world upside down? What rules are you playing?
There's only one rule. Expediency. Mund gives London what it needs, so Fiedler dies and Mund lives. It was a foul, foul operation, but it paid off.
Who for?
What the hell do you think spies are? Moral philosophers measuring everything they do against the word of God or Karl Marx? They're not. They're just a bunch of seedy, squalid bastards like me. Little men, drunkards, queers, henpecked husbands, civil servants playing cowboys and Indians to brighten their rotten little lives. Do you think they sit like monks in a cell, balancing right against wrong? Yesterday I would have killed Mund, because I thought him evil and an enemy, but not today. Today he's evil and my friend. London needs him. They need him so that the great moronic masses you admire so much can sleep soundly in their flea-bitten beds again. They need him for the safety of ordinary, crummy people like you and me.
You killed Fiedler.
How big does a cause have to be before you kill your friends? What about your party? There's a few million bodies on that path.
By the authority granted me, I, Robert de Beaumont, servant of the Crown, do now before this council charge Thomas Becket with the crimes of...
Robert.
I charge you, Thomas Becket.
Robert de Beaumont, hear me for the sake of your soul, which is in the gravest danger. All in this assembly know how faithfully I've served my lord the king. It was he who willed that I be archbishop, and it was for love of him alone that I accepted. I'm innocent of any wrongdoing in my administration of the king's treasury as chancellor. I will be judged by the Pope alone, to whom before you all I now appeal and place myself and my church under his protection. As head of the Church of England and as your spiritual father, I forbid you to pass judgment on me. I command you and all who would charge me to hold your peace on pain of endangering your immortal souls.
Well played, Thomas.
Do you think you can carry this up indefinitely, you fool?
We are all God's fools, my lord.
Becket! You are a liar.
You are a traitor! Sheath your sword, Morville, before you impale your soul upon it. You're a monster. You are?
I'm loud, and I'm vulgar, and I wear the pants in the house because somebody's got to. But I am not a monster. I'm not.
You're a spoiled, self-indulgent, willful, dirty-minded, liquor-ridden...
It went snap. I'm not going to try to get through to you anymore. There was a second back there. Yeah, there was a second. Just a second when I could have gotten through to you. When maybe we could have cut through all this crap. But it's past. And I'm not going to try.
Once a month, Martha. I've gotten used to it. Once a month and we get misunderstood Martha, the good-hearted girl underneath the barnacles, the little miss that the touch of kindness will bring to bloom again. And I believed it more times than I'd like to admit, because I don't like to think I'm that much of a sucker. But I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. There is no moment anymore when we could come together.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right. You can't come together with nothing, and you're nothing. Snap! I looked at you tonight, and you weren't there. Ronnie snapped. And I'm gonna howl it out. And I'm not gonna give a damn what I do, and I'm gonna make the biggest goddamn explosion you've ever heard.
You try, and I'll beat you at your own game.
Is that a threat, George, huh?
That's a threat, Martha.
You're gonna get it, baby.
Be careful, Martha. I'll rip you to pieces.
You're not man enough. You haven't the guts.
Total war?
Total.
I think that obviously, I feel that obviously within perhaps 4 or 5 years or even 10 years, that I will have to make a choice. That is, whether to continue acting or whether to not act and do something else that I have in mind, which I'd rather not reveal, but simply it seems to me to continue acting until you're 70 years old, learning other people's words and trotting them out all the time is faintly undignified. But I would like to do something more constructive and more immediate.
But is it going to be back to the theatre or more movies?
No. The only thing that's important are the children and Elizabeth and being alive, I suppose, in a sort of extraordinary way. I don't know. I really don't know.
That sounds a very depressed attitude for you to be taking. I would have thought that in the position you're in now, you would be feeling much more bucked up about things.
You know, you must understand, Barry, that I'm sending you up.
I thought you might be.
Yeah. I think I'm reasonably intelligent, clever, good, kind, sweet, nasty.
Gifted?
Oh, no. I'm not gifted. No.
Quel no che lui grida al telefono. Era questo. Aspetta,
There's a great temptation to look upon Richard Burton as a man who's lost his way, but that's presumptuous and impertinent. It's putting one's own interpretation on somebody else's life. Burton's a very likeable man, a kind and extremely generous man. Whether he thinks he's lost his way or, on the contrary, is quite contented with the shape his career has taken is something that, understandably, he keeps to himself. In any event, he carries on working, making an average of 2 pictures a year. This scene is one of the last in the voyage, Burton weeping reluctantly over the body of Miss Lorraine, whose corpse is portrayed in the lady's unavoidable absence elsewhere by Annabella Incontrera.
Always.
What do I have to say? No, no.
Yes. No, poi lei non risponde, è morta, e lui con questi occhi un pochino presi da... She's dead. No, no, no. Pause. La lumiere, senti.
Peppino, sulla scatola, questo negativo, sopra, insieme ai bollettini, ci metti questo pezzettino qua.
Tears in my eyes. No, DJ, no tears in my eyes, never.
Senza lacrime, ma se gli vengono un po'...
Non mi piace.
Non proprio lacrime, non lacrime, ma gli occhi...
Just moist. You'd like the eyes moist.
Okay.
Per quanto gallese, might be Welsh.
I didn't even cry when people left me, you know, it's very difficult. No.
Non più giorni.
No.
Allora,
ero sicuro, guarda, io ero sicuro che avrebbe fatto questo. No, io. No, già stiamo.
I hate that, De Sica. I hate the tears in the eyes.
Così?
Perfetto, ok?
Silenzio! Motore! Partito?
R878 prima.
Azione! No! 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 Va bene, è approvvigionato. Figliacco, Motore, un'altra. Partito? Resta no.
R878 terza.
Seconda l'azione, dico un attimo. Luca, no. Ok, De Sica quando va.
Motore, azione!
No.
No! No. Va bene? Quali sono buone?
Sono tutte buone.
Tutti e due facciamo,
Tutte e tre, falla tutte.
Tutte e tre.
I can't cry, you see.
Motore! Partito? Vai. Richard, in position. Attenzione, va bene. Motore.
But do you feel very vulnerable then when you're acting?
I hate acting.
Well, you did tell me a few years ago that you were planning to give it up. But you're still doing it. You made a lot of films since then.
I have to make the money, love. I have to make the money. You know, if you give your wife a jewel or something like that, costing him, shall we say, about $100,000 or whatever it is, what the hell are you going to do, you know? No. I just count the shekels. I count the money.
Do you really do it just for the money, though, Richard?
No, very.
I mean,
You're in a very, very, very strange state. Who knows what happens? I don't know. May I have a cigarette?
By all means, yes. Do you enjoy this superstar status, the tremendous celebrity, the fact that you can't move without being mobbed? Do you really enjoy it, that kind of life?
If it stops, I'm dead. Anybody got a match or anything like that?
But he hurls himself into the directing in a way that very few people do now, isn't he?
That's exactly what he wants. That's why the film is so short. Tell me, Barry, why do you do this thing?
Partly because I like it. Largely because I like it.
All right. Why do you come to Milan? I know you have to do this because it's a part of your problem, right? Now, what...
Buongiorno. How are you?
You like women or anything like that?
Yes, I like women.
You like?
Yeah.
Do you do?
Yes, I like women.
You do? Holy Christ. Can you tell me the first line of Richard II?
No, I can't, alas. I know you can, but I can't.
Noi giriamo con una macchina. Vai lì verso le due bambine ipotetiche.
First line of Hamlet.
No, I'm not good on first lines, Richard. You've got me in
Any line from
a corner. To be or not to be, get thee to a nunnery.
Okay, we'll try.
This above all till thine own self be true.
It sounds like déjà vu, huh?
Well, I bet it
Hey,
is.
that's enough.